Simon here from Harvey Mudd CS5X MOOCs, and today we are going to be talking about list comprehensions. Suppose we want to write a function that takes in a list, doubles every number in that list, and then returns that list. We could write a function to do this recursively. This function takes in a list and returns a new list with each element of the old one doubled. As you can see, this isn't the most visually appealing code, and there are better ways to write a function that does what we want. We want to write code that does something, that thing being the function of doubling, to every item in a list, and Python gives us a couple ways to actually do this. The first is the map function. Map takes a function and, as the name suggests, maps it onto every element of a list. So, if we have a double function, as so, and we have a list like this one, we can call map of double L, and that will return a new list that is L, but with every element doubled. So, -5 became -10. Take this 2 over here, it became 4. You can see that map indeed did double every number in L. Map is nice, but it means you have to write a function to do anything, even something as simple as doubling x. A simpler way to perform a function on each element of a list is something we call list comprehension. For example, let's use a list comprehension to double every number in a list. To do this, we would use the following syntax that you can see in the next function defined. Let's go through what's happening here. The first part says what we want to do to each element of our list, which is in this case multiplying each element by 2. For I defines what we want to call each element of our list. In this case, we call it I, but it could really be any variable name. Then, in L, tells us that I will take on each value in the list and undergo the function we described in the beginning of the list comprehension. Essentially, we are telling Python to perform function f for each element of L. To check if you understand this, try and write a list comprehension that squares each element of some list L. One list comprehension that would work to do this is x times x for x in L. Although there are a number of different ways you could write it. To check if yours works, you can always test it in the Python shell. We can also do more complex things with list comprehensions. Suppose we want to multiply each element in a list by -7 if its absolute value is greater than 4. Let's use the list range -7, 7. To motivate this example, let's use the list range -6 to 7, which will give us a list of all integers from -6 to 6 inclusive. I'll give you a syntactic hint. To give our list comprehension a condition, at the end of the list comprehension, we write if insert condition. Try to write this yourself. This is what we got. We can see that our list variable is b, and we will multiply each element b by -7. The if statement tells Python that it will only compute the first statement if the absolute value of b is greater than 4. If we run this, we get just as we hoped. In summary, if we want to do something to, or in other words, perform a function on everything in a list, we can either use map or a list comprehension. We learned how list comprehensions work by implicitly using the map function that we also introduced to you in this video. List comprehensions can also filter out certain values from a list. Because of the concise syntax of list comprehensions, they become a very powerful and flexible tool. We highly recommend you use them when appropriate in future assignments.